Hey everyone, welcome to another Interactor tutorial. Now we are going to redo the Interactor workflow trailer scene from scratch. So I just imported the same model and they are all empty game objects except the colliders and rigid bodies. And this scene also included in the latest update, version 0.86. And we have a lot of new features. It was a major update, and I will explain all of them, old and new features for new and old users. So let's get started. First, let's open our spawner window to enable our SceneView windows. So I got two SceneView menu. Right now, we have two modes, effector modes to edit effector rules, and also spawner, new spawner mode. So this enables to spawn objects and change rotations and change newly added preset feature over here in the scene view. So this also can be accessed from the spawner window. So you can enable and disable from here. We have also presets. So you can watch the prefab and presets tutorial video to see these new features in detail. But I will just create two new targets to fit my needs better. And this will be quick. Let's put our, I want my grab object, left and right hand grabs to rotate horizontally. So I can use horizontal and vertical ones depending on my needs. To do that, let's also create a new sphere on the 0 point so we can actually see where we are going to click when we spawn our targets. So this will be our click point when we spawn our targets, and this will be the default rotation for it. So it is getting the workspace forward. But I want this horizontally rotated, so let's put it on the sphere and rotate the sphere 90 degrees. And that's it. Okay. That's good. That is what exactly what I want. And let's unpack this one and call it grab horizontal and create new prefab. Also, let's do the same for the right hand. Rotate this 90 more degree. Unchild, unpack. Rename it as grab horizontal. So okay, I created two new targets, and now I can add these targets to my scene view menu. To do that, I can just drag and drop, but I want them to right below the regular grab, and then we can add other grabs. And also push. Same for the right hand. So I want my grab horizontal below the grab, and I can add the other right hands as well. Okay, we are good to go. Let's start creating our interactions. This tutorial can be a bit longer because I try to explain everything for the workflow. Okay, we can now go to full screen mode with shift space. It can be different combinations on your Unity version. Okay, this object is a coffee cart. So I also try to demonstrate how you can use the regular interactions with different creative ways. So I will use, I used touch steel on this object. So touch steel only makes the player bonds to go to target and wait. But I want to use it for pushing this card. So I will add an event for it. And instead of touching a wall, we will be pushing a card over here. So let's do that. So I will select my touch steel preset, and I will need my add components, so it will add InteractorObject for me. And also I will need a pivot object, and the rotation will be a camera to object Y only. So it will be completely horizontal. So it won't get my SceneView camera rotation on other rotations, only Y rotation. Okay, let's do that. I will use my left hand push over here, and it will spawn my target. Quite good. So I'm satisfied with that. And this interaction is actually done right now. Let's make a quick test. What is happening? Why am I still in SceneView? Okay, let's try again. I think it is because of the full screen. Okay, so now this is a regular touch steel, as you can see. It will touch its hand when the effector gets correct position, when it is in a good position actually. So my hand is over here, and let's put the SceneView over here. Let's also select our left hand rules. As you can see, it will show the bezier and it will activate the interaction. Also, we have a pivot object over here. So when we come over from different angle, it will rotate the object towards the player. Like, let's select our hand again. What are you doing? Oh, come on, Unity. Okay. So the pivot object is over here. When we clicked on object, it will place the pivot object right at the same spot, and it will make hand its child with according to its prefab position and rotation, and also the selection for our spawn option over here. So it can be default rotation, or it can be camera rotation or surface rotation. So all the combinations result with this end. So the object will be rotate towards the player like this with the pivot object. So this interaction is actually done, but I also want another target for this object. So I can also select another point to spawn my target. I will use left hand grab. So this one is vertical. Let's try horizontal one. Okay, this fits better, and let's rotate it. It is also done. So I again selected my add components, but it won't add another component, and it won't do anything because this object already has InteractorObject on it when we spawn our first target. So other targets won't do anything if you still select add components option. So this interaction also has now another hand point over here. So what I want now to add an event for the interaction. So when we interact with the object, it will call that event for us. So I have a basic force script over here. So it only adds force depending on the direction. So this object is rotated towards the, let me see, like this rotation. So I want to push it on negative x. So let's give it a force, maybe 110. And I want it to acceleration. And let's add our event in the events in InteractorObject. Click force, and now we are done. Let's make another quick test. So when I touch the object, event gets called, and when I touch the object again, when we paused, when we completed our interaction's first half, it will called again and again. And this one is done. Okay, now let's create another interaction on the same object. So that is the important part over here, because now the interactor object is on the parent of coffee cart, but I also want to interact another object, one of its children. So I want an interaction with this mug, like in the trailer. Let's skip pivot right now. Let's add components, and it will be one hand pickup. And select our direction, maybe Y only. Let's use right hand horizontal. No, let's use right hand grab. Okay, this is a bit harder surface to get one click perfect rotation, but sometimes you need to modify the targets a little bit, maybe a little high. So this looks okay right now. Maybe we can push it and rotate a little bit more so our fingers can cross over here. Okay, this looks okay, and this was pick up one hand. And let's make a test again. So I can touch my card. Now let's go to mug. As you can see, it tries to touch the mug too. So because right now the mug targets belongs to coffee cart also. So it is trying to get used before the pickup interactor object. So to prevent that, I can create a new buffer object, empty game object, as a child of coffee cart, and I can hold my targets and make its child. So then I can come over here on the interact settings. I have other targets rules. So this is useful when you need to give another object to get the targets, all the targets. So I want to exclude this target from this interactor object. To do that, I can just use this one. So it says, hey, take the objects from this object, not your child's, not your children, only this object's children. So this will exclude from the interaction. Let's also try again. And again, pushing the card. And over here, now it doesn't try to touch. But also when I select the object, now I can pick up the object. So right now, object is kinda silly because we didn't set anything here. Let's select the mug object. So it has a pickable settings, comes default. Now I want to hold this object in position instead of holding it on hand bone. So we can select the hold in position, and we need to give some offset values relative to the player. So to do that, you can just put the object on player and get the values from there. So it will be like this normally on 0 point, but we want this object around, so this was right hand, so it will be over here. So let's say we want to hold this object like this, and the rotation should be like this. Okay, let's get these values and assign the position 0.16, 1.45 and 0.192, and the rotation maybe it should be -29. Okay, now let's put this object back. Over here. Where was our targets? Also rotate the object. Okay, let's make another test. We come over here, select the mag, and as you can see, it is holding at that position and rotation relative to player. So if you want to drop this object some places, some predestined locations, so it will right now drop the object where we hold from. And to do that, you can enable drop back. Drop back will try to leave the object on the same spot if it is reachable from the used effector, in this case right hand. So if the drop back location where we pick up by default is in this area, it will drop the object on that spot. But if you want to drop object another place, maybe over here, you can give a transform, empty transform for this location. So let's use this location. Hang on. I want to create a transform over here, for example. This is just for temporary, so it won't have anything on it. Let's call this one mug spot. So yeah, I want to drop the object over here, and also I want to drop the object on the same spot where we pick. To do that, let's put this somewhere around. We can go to InteractorObject other settings, and we have our drop locations as an array, transform array. So let's explain this new ScriptableObject workflow. So on the version 0.86, we have now separated all the interaction type settings as a type specific settings over here. So they now separated from the InteractorObject settings. That is because I don't want to put all the settings, unnecessary values, properties into one single object. So if you want to use a touch, you don't need these pickup settings. You don't need this in your memory or in your interface. So these are all separate objects now. So when we expand these properties, it won't affect the other interaction types. So that is one plus. Also, another thing, another upside is when you create your setting file, it is actually a scriptable object and it exists in your project as asset. So you can use the same settings on another object. So when I create my, let's duplicate these settings we made. Let's call this one mug pickup. And you can use this mug pickup all the other mugs or all the similar other pickable objects with the same settings. That is also another upside. So let's also assign this over here. You can also, when it is empty, you can just create a new scriptable object asset in your project. So they are reusable and easy to create. But the one other downside, it is also an upside. When you make some changes, it will also change the other objects that uses the same scriptable object. So keep that in your mind. It also will will keep the changes when you make in runtime because they are scriptable objects. That is upside and downside. But one definitive downside is you can't assign scene objects to these properties, these fields, because they are scriptable objects and they exist on the project. They can't accept scene objects. So that is why drop location for transforms exist on the interactor object itself, not the setting file for the interaction type. But that is not actually that much big of deal because these will hold nothing if you don't assign anything. It will be just undefined empty array. So let's assign our mug spot over here, and we are good to go. Let's make a quick test again. So we are coming over here to our mug. So when we select our mug, over here we picked our mug. So I want to drop this object to the same place, and let's see if it is in our drop location. So let's move a little more and put the object back. So it is in our reach, and so it can leave the object over there. When I try to pick up, and maybe now I'm not in reach, so it will just leave the object on the ground. So let's also pick up the object again. Let's go try our transform. And it will leave the object where we choose before. Okay, so we made our two interactions. Also, you can use as many as you want for the drop locations. Also, you can assign the drop locations in-game, in runtime. You can pick the spot and you can drop the location by assigning the new transform in runtime. Okay, we made our first two interactions. Let's go to our sofa. So I want to sit on this object, and let's go to spawn mode. I don't need my pivot, and let's select our multiple. So multiple means it will interact with the object with more than one effector at the same time. So if you give 3 effectors on the same object as a child, it will use all these 3 body parts. Let's select the Y only. Now I will put my chest prefab over here. Okay, and I want my right hand over here. It will be camera object Y only. Let's select Y horizontal. Okay, maybe a little forward. And my left hand over here. Left hand horizontal. And let's put our left hand to right side so he can cross his legs. Again, camera object Y only, left foot. Okay, maybe over here, and right foot to left side. Okay, so this is also done. We don't have any events over here. Let's make a quick test. Let's make it a bit bigger. So when we use the object, okay, that's actually pretty cool. He is sitting really cozy over there, but the right hand and the chest positions a bit off. You can make some adjustments in runtime to get perfect position. As you can see, you can play with all the targets over here. So you can also, let's close the debug mode. We don't need the rules right now. So when you select the targets, they will be selectable, but they will be in optimized view. And when you select the object, they will be visible in more details. So you can make some adjustments maybe for the next time you use. These are pre-cached, so they won't change, but the positions will change in runtime. So that is the important part actually. Or as you can see, so you can make some adjustments to get a better positions. Like this maybe. That is actually pretty okay in my opinion. And when you're satisfied with the results, you can just select your targets, copy them in runtime, stop the playing, and delete the old targets, and copy them again. So it will be just okay right now. So one of the new features of the latest update, now you can give you can override the target settings, not just for the range, also with the angles and other stuff. So we have some rules for the effectors to interact with targets, right? It has some vertical and horizontal angles. It has some range settings to interact with, and it also one of the new features right now. It has also now minimum range to interact. So you can change this value. So the left hand, for example, can't interact object with this minimum range. It needs to be more distant for this range and more closer than the maximum range. So it will be just this middle point. It needs to be over here. You can override all these settings right now. So that is pretty useful for some specific interactions. Over here you have these settings, but first if you want to enable these, they will just have default 0 values. So you can't interact with this target right now. You need to give same values with or similar values with the effector rule. To get the same values, you can just press get interactor values, and it will get the right hand's same values over here. Now you can increase your maximum range, for example. so you can interact with this object from more distant spot. Okay, let's go back. Okay, the third interaction is also done. So let's make another quick interaction over here. So I want to interact with this object in the trailer. I want to kick this object. To do that, I just use my button interaction. So the button interaction is works like this. When the target is in your reach, is in good position, it will pop up the use text. When you use the object, the hand bone will go to object, interact, and go back without waiting. So it is just pushing the button interaction. But you can use that animation for more than one type. Instead of pressing the button, I will just use it kicking this object. So you can, I bet you can create your more creative interactions with these types. But I will also show how to create a new interaction type from scratch with another tutorial video. You can watch that as well. I'm creating a magic push interaction without touching the objects. So that is also a good tutorial to learn how to create your interactions with scripting. But right now you can use the interactions we have in creative ways. So let's just select our button and camera to Y only, and I will use pivot so I can kick from different angles without a weird rotation. And let's select our right foot over here. Also, maybe I want to kick this object with my left foot, right? But right now they have separate pivots, so let's put them in the same pivot object. So right now we have only one pivot location in the InteractorObject, but it will change in the next updates because all the targets needs their own pivot objects, right? That is the correct way, but I will change that soon. Right now we have only one pivot spot, so it is left foot, it says. Let's put the right foot also on the same pivot object, so they can rotate both depending on which Interactor body part you use, right foot or left foot. Okay, actually we forgot to add event, but that's okay. So I can interact with the object like that, and also I can use the object with my left foot. And okay, let's add a quick event. Again, basic force, and this object will go to positive Z direction. Maybe a bit higher. Let's make it impulse. Okay, let's test it. So you can increase the range over here with overriding the settings. Okay, actually we didn't assign the event over here. Let's call this when interacted. So it will be called when on pause, when we reach to object, the target actually. Okay, that is too much force. Let's make it regular force with 150. Okay, this interaction also done. I hope. Okay, that looks nice, but the pivot object kind of weird, so we may want to make some changes for it. Okay, it is because rotated like crazy. Maybe we can fix it by changing it like this, because the pivot object right now looks right this rotation, this direction, so the object also needs to be in line with that direction, because when we interact with the object with our feet from this angle, it will just rotate the pivot like this, so the object needs to be in line. If the object rotated more, so the bone rotation will be same, so it will look weird. Okay, that is better right now. As you can see, it is better. So just now it needs to be a bit further away from the object, because feet just goes into object a little. But other than that, it is okay. So this is also same with the mug object. You can come over here. So we want pick up one hand. Let's select the Y only. Also, we don't want pivot over here. We want to pick this object with left hand. Maybe horizontal. No, actually we need to click on a better spot. Okay, that is. I want to be tighter. Okay, that is okay. I think that's all right, except this rotation. Okay, the most time-consuming thing is just adjusting the hands, especially. But other than that, the workflow is pretty simple. Just put your target, and that is done. And you have, let's talk about some other settings over here on the InteractorObject. As I explained before, we have type-specific settings. These are will be held in the project as ScriptableObject assets. And when you need some different interaction, different settings, you need to create a new ScriptableObject, because you don't want to change the others. Also, you can access all the setting files from here, so you can just select. I already have frame one hand settings over here, so it will just work fine. And it has drop back option, so I can create some locations, transform locations on the wall, and I can drop this onto these locations to this frame. And so the other, maybe we can look at the pickup. We don't have any type specific settings on manual, but we have on multiple. So the multiple will get the body direction and change the player rotation to that body target. Okay, that's enough for this type specific settings, and let's talk about the InteractorObject settings. Over here, interact settings, we have a priority. That is a new feature. So the priority works for two specific purposes. One will be, the more priority object have, the more upper spot it will shown in the menu. So it will be always on top if it has more priority on other objects. It will be prioritized. Also, another thing is it will get the look settings, look orders more prioritized. So let's talk about the look settings over here. Okay, this new look feature took a lot of time to develop because I want it to have a lot of customization to fit your needs. We have 4 different settings for the look. Before works for when the interactor object enters our trigger, and it is least prioritized look type, and it will overridden by other look types. For example, if you select for this object before this sofa, and if you have this object as in the look settings on selection and before, so the player will look this object when the sofa enters in trigger, and then look at this object when also this enters the trigger after the sofa, because it also has before selected. But when you make a selection on the list, actually, you know what? Let's try this one in action. That is better to show in action. So let's go over here to our character. I will create 2 new interactions. Let's make this object over here. Let's make this one smaller, and this is sphere 1 and this is sphere 2. Oops. So we have 2 targets over here. Let's put our character and let's make these ones manual buttons. Let's add pivots, and also I will interact with these ones left hand maybe grab, and also right hand grab. So the one hand interactions all changeable. So which one is in good position, it will use that effector. And also this will be my button left hand and right hand. Okay, we got our interactions. Now let's adjust our look settings. So as I said before, these are right now selected as before only. And let's see that in action. Let's put our scene view. Okay, when we select the object, the first sphere, and when this first sphere enters our trigger, now the look is activated, and you can see where we are looking at with the debug line. But this object is selected as before for the look type, but we are not looking at it because we instantly send another look order for the selection over here on selection, because when we have only one object, it is also gets selected and it overrides the before. And since we don't have selected on selection in the object, it doesn't look at the object. So the on selection always overrides before, and as I said, before is least prioritized look type. And if we put another object, and this object will be on second, and because of that it won't be selected, but it will be entered. It will enter to the sphere trigger, and it will work as selected. Sorry, it will work as before. Now we are looking at the object with before. So when we select the second object, it will stop looking at it, because these both objects doesn't get selected with the look type as on selection. If we enable the on selection on sphere 2, and if we select the sphere 2, it will look at object. Also, let's select this object on selection. Now, the priority thing also works over here. If you have more priority than the other object, let's say we have 101 priority on sphere 1, and if we are looking at the object, but the second object enters with more priority, and we switch the look target. So if we have lower priority, normally it won't switch the targets, but right now we selected the object. So on selection doesn't need priority. It will always override the before and on selection, other on selections and other before targets. But let's close deactivate the on selection. Also, let's not select an object. So now we are looking at this object. This one has lower priority, so it won't change any look order. Let's remove this one. Now we are looking at this object, but this one has 101 priority, which is higher than the 100 for sphere 2. So it will switch the look target. Okay. The other look settings are on pause and after. So on pause, when you interact with the object, when your bone goes to target, and after is when you are returning from target. So when your bone returning from target to its default position. So let's select all again. Now put it around here. Is it interactable right now? I think not. Okay, we need to select the object. Okay, now it is interactable, but we didn't select on selection. So when we select the object, it doesn't look. Also select on selection, which means always, actually. Okay, we selected the object and we are interacting it and we are ending interaction. But if we don't select over here after, it will look to object until it reaches the target. Sorry, the other way. So it will end the look earlier. So if this object is on pause interaction and we select after, so we interacted object. So in a short way, if you don't select after, it won't look more when interacted. If you select on pause and after, it always look when the interaction is until the interaction is completely over. So other settings also, you can tell him to look another target instead of the object. Right now it is looking at the object center, but sometimes object can be bigger and its center is not where you want to look. For example, over here we want to look on the hand object, right? Hang on, over here. So we want to look over here. If you want to look at targets, so you can say, hey, take the target instead of the object. Look at children. Or you can give another object. So For example, in this case, let's give second sphere, and when the object enters, it will look at the second sphere because we assigned another look target over here. And wait time to look is, as you can see, even if it is out of reach, because this object is already this object is always in our interaction zone, and it is selected as always, and we are still looking at it. So the look times works like this. Let's null this. Let's make this always. So the wait time to look is actually you can delay your look. Let's make it 1 second. So when the object enters, it will wait 1 second and then look. So it works for the delaying. And the look timeout is the maximum time you want to look. So you can say 2 seconds, and when the object enters, it will wait 2 seconds and it will end the look. So this is a maximum time. If you give 0, it will always look, depending on these settings, of course. And the look wait is the important option over here. So you don't actually look 100% with your head to objects in real life, because it is not realistic. We normally use our, hang on, this is still on pause. Okay, we need to restart. We don't always look our 100% heads. We use our eyes to look, right? So you can give your weight. Let's make this always. And you can make it more subtle, and that is more natural. And the look rotation, rotation, duration, and multipliers for out are related to speed settings actually. So they have explanations on them. So these are the durations of animations, and if you want to different speeds, head rotation speeds for your looks, you can modify these numbers. And yeah, that is all for the settings, for the look settings. And let's also continue our other interaction settings. So we talked about priority. It works for interaction selection and also the look settings priority. And when you have a multiple connection interaction, like in the sofa multiple with multiple targets, you need to select multiple connections. And if you want this interaction to be interruptible, you need to take your interruptible feature. So this is also one of the new features, and it enables you to interrupt an interaction while doing to do another one without resetting the interaction. So what I mean is, let me just show it over here. So we interacted with object. Let's push this card so we can reach to mug while we are sitting. So now we are sitting here. I can't interact with the mug because it is out of range right now. Let's put this over here. Or you can, override the settings and give it a higher value, but it needs restart. So I just now push the mug into my reach. Okay, I think we are a bit. Let's see our debug. Oh, okay, we are out of position. That's why. To do that, in our sofa multiple interaction, we set the body direction, but we didn't set the body position. So body is actually standing in front of sofa. Let's change that. Also, let's turn off the object collider. Okay. Let's push our cart. All right. Now let's see it. Now, how about now? Okay, that's good now. Also, I think we are still can't reach to mug, so we need to push a little more. Okay, so as you can see, right now I am using all my 5 effectors, and they are on all on their targets. But if I want to interrupt my right hand interaction from here to mug, it smoothly transfers the interaction. That is one of the new features, and that is quite useful and cool. So if I interact with the mug, as you can see, it just goes from the current interaction to new interaction smoothly. This is not exist in FinalIK version, because FinalIK doesn't allow me to do that. It doesn't have a smooth interruption transfer. But I will talk with the developer Pavel about it. So when we ended interaction, it just goes to default. Without the interruptions, it will just reset the interaction and start from there. That is not natural. So if you have, or if you don't select interruptible, it won't change the interaction to new one. Push, push, push. So we are interacting with the sofa, and the mug is out of reach again. Okay, it is now in reach. But as you can see, I can interact with the mug, because right now the current interaction we are using doesn't have an interruptible object. So this is also works for other interaction types. You can select the mug and then come over here, select another object. If it has interruption, it will leave that object and hold the other one. And one of the cool features, let's select this object also with, so originally we put the left hand on this, but also let's put maybe right hand too, so it can be interactable with both hands. Okay, that doesn't, the rotation doesn't important here. Now it has 2 targets, so it can be picked up with both hands. But I don't want to hold it in position. Let's disable that. And also let's put a, what was that? Right hand. Let's also put a left hand on this. Like this. Now both objects have both hands, so they are both interactable in any ways. So we can pick this object with left hand. Of course, we need to edit and modify the position because it is for the right hand position. And we can leave the object, and we can interact with the object with the right hand also. It always depends on the conditions. It picks the available hand. So if we have another mug, and it also has 2 hands, and when I try to interact with that, it will use the empty hand instead of the interrupting the already current using one. So that is one of the cool features. Over here, if we pick the frame, it will use the left hand. And we didn't select on position, so it will just become a children of hand bone. So over here, let's leave the frame. It doesn't have a rigid body, so it stands in air. Let's say I want to interact with this object with my right hand over here, but right now I am already using the mug. Let's try. Oh, sorry, I can't interrupt. Okay, let's change it. Let's find our mug over here. So because we didn't select the interruptible over here, let's enable that, and let's now try to change it. As you can see, it will leave the object and instead it put the frame. So the target is kind of silly right now because we didn't work on that. And this object is also interruptible now, so we can leave this and instead get the glass. Actually, it is so, as I told you earlier, it just used the other empty hand because it is available instead of leaving the frame. Now it tries to pick both objects if hands are available. If the left, right now my right hand is available, but it is out of range, so it needs to interrupt current interaction to pick the frame. Over here, so let's try to pick the object with left hand because right now it can't interact with right hand because it is out of range. Let's also try now. As you can see, it left the object and pick up with the left hand because right hand is out of range. Okay, I think you get the idea over here. So the thing about the interactions, the animations, over here, let's reset this one. On the controller, animation controller, we have two different animations over here. When I click the R button, it will, actually we need to select the object to see. So it is on the grounded default state, and when I click, when I press the R button, it will go to pick and stand, and it is actually reversed picked animation. It will go to pick animation. So on the pick animation, in the animations section, I got two events. One of them is stopping the pick bool, reversing the pick bool, and the other one is around here, and it will set use. So it will work as pressing the F button. So somewhere around here, over here, it just presses F. So sets the use, so it gets the object from the ground. So instead of picking the object without the animation, let's put this object on the ground. This object slowly drops because it has some settings on the rigid body, on the constraints. Anyways, so when I press the F, it can't reach to target because it is not a full body IK with like final IK. So it will try to get the object from the ground while standing. But if we use the R key, which will use also F key on the middle of the animation, so it will look more natural while it will use the object while we are crouching. Okay, so this video getting too long. The thing I need to talk about more. So we got our interactions, we got our vertical touch on this object. Let me quickly put one. So let's go to touch vertical, and let's get this maybe by only. So I want to touch this with the right hand grab. No, this doesn't work good. Let's use the surface rotation instead. Right hand grab. Okay, this looks good. On the settings, I don't want to use touch. I already made a sofa settings over here. Sofa touch. So that's all. This will follow the player, and also it will get the surface rotation when we interact with the object. So as you can see, it will always follow the target. Actually, let's use this rotation. As you can see, it gets the surface rotation as well. And this is also works for both hands. So if you put a left hand too, let's get the surface rotation first. Left hand grab. It works for both hands. So that is also a cool feature. We are interacting with right hand, and then we are interacting with left hand. But over here, left hand needs some rotation changes on the settings. And okay, the other interactions are just similar. This is one hand pickup with same drop location, and we have a manual button over here. So if we add our interaction with pivots, so over here, if you want to press this button, or this button maybe, and this button, point, and they will all get their own interactor objects. Now they are all interactable. So actually you can put every one of them, so you can dial any number you want. As you can see. I think I missed 4. Yeah, we missed 4. We can't dial 4, but you get the point. Yeah. So the interruption transfer also works over here, which is quite cool. So when are these interruptible? No, unfortunately. Okay, let's make all interruptible real quick. So we can switch between targets. And if I dial 1 and at the same time I switch into 7, it will just switch. But these are right now a bit fast. Let's make the duration 10 seconds maybe. So I called the 7, I dialed 7, and I changed into 1, and then 6, and then 5. And I dialed 1, and then on the way I changed 9. So it smoothly transfers the interruption, but it needs some adjustments on the speed settings. So that is why it is skipping. Looks like skipping. Let's go to 1. And also they need some pivot adjustments Alright, we got a push over here, which is also quite easy. Let's get push presets. And this is left hand grab, and this is right hand grab, and that is also done. So this preset feature makes creating interaction a lot faster. You just made your settings and then you are done. Okay, the thing I want to talk about, one of the important things, this ottoman stand and the wheelchair. So in the trailer I used this object for both picking up and also for putting my feet on it for the wheelchair interaction. So to do that, I just put some left hand and right hand grabs. Let's make it two hand interaction. Let's make it surface rotation. This is left hand grab, and this is right hand grab. Let's put it here, right hand grab. Sorry, we need to select the surface rotation. Right hand grab. Okay, that's good enough. And also I put 2 feet on it, but without adding modifying the components. I just need the targets on that. And let's put this. This is left foot. Actually, let's put it from this angle so it won't rotate. Oops. Left foot and right foot. Okay, that's good enough. So also let's make a quick rocking chair interaction here. This is multiple. Let's get the direction. So chest goes to here. Oops, not there. It needs to go over here. Chest. With some rotation. And the hands also goes right here. This is right hand. And this is left hand. Oops, we missed the spot. Left hand grab. Okay. So to make it work, it is similar that we made with the coffee cart and mug separation. Okay, we have ottoman stand and rocking chair. So when we interact with the rocking chair, it also needs these targets as child, right? So we need to put the ottoman stand on rocking chair. So it will get the feet targets, but it also intersects with the hand targets over here, so we don't want that. So I need another buffer object. Let's create a new empty object. Let's call this rocking chair parent and put it here. So let's make it as child and also ottoman stand as child. And so since we need the feet targets, we need to give another targets root as parent. So now it will get all the targets. But if you put the ottoman stand on top, instead of the rocking chair, it will get the hands as these hands, which we don't want. We want to use these hands, but since these hands are higher, it will get these hands. Okay, let's let's try. This is multiple, right? Yeah, let's select the chair settings. And on the Ottoman stand, let's set the handset, mug pickup. I think it is regular cable settings. Yeah. Okay, let's test it. So in the future, I will make a proper separation for the objects has multiple interactions. So when I interact with this one, as you can see, it used its feet and hands. We also make that separation. Okay, let's interact with the rocking chair. Actually, rocking chair is quite good because Ottoman stand is already on top, on bottom. So that is cool. Because we pick the object, it goes to bottom. But if you interact with the object like this, when the other one is top, it will just use the other on their hands. Let's also test this one with the rocking chair without taking. That's odd. Anyways, I will change that feature in the future, so you can make adjustments better. Okay, so to prevent this to get our feet, we also need another child buffer object. Let's call it Ottoman pick, and let's make the hand targets as child on that, and select the Ottoman stand. Hey, don't take all of the children. We won't use our feet on this interaction. Just pick the hands instead, and that is going to fix our interaction issue over there. Right now, everything needs to be okay. So we pick our object, we drop our object, and we interact with the rocking chair, and that is okay. And since these objects are not related, rocking chair can work with its colliders. Otherwise, if you put this as target, we don't want to modify the stand with the chair. Okay, one more last thing. So there's also a distant interaction in the trailer. So I just selected my distant preset over here. We don't need hands on this one, so you can just delete that. But we just need our interactor object on that, and it is selected as distance, so it will be used as distant object. So that one, we just forgot the event. Let's add a quick event over here. So it will be an acceleration, and let's give it 0.5 and 0.75. This object doesn't have any rigid body, so it will just use a twin animation instead. So this object over here at basic force, so it will get the rigid body. If it has a rigid body, it will add force. If it doesn't have any rigid body, it will just move the object to given position with the auto class in Interactor. So okay, let's try. Let's hook up the event over here. At basic force, click force. Okay. So distant interaction is just a regular first-person game crosshair selection. So as you can see, there is a little tiny dot in the middle, and it can be enabled by basic UI crosshair enable. And when you select the object, select the distant interaction object, it will just pop up a left click use. As you can see, it follows the mouse position and cursor is not locked. And when you click, it enables the event. It calls the event. Also, you can use the shaders that comes with Interactor to make them more visible when selected. And to do that, I think we can do it pretty fast. We have a material, right? It is right now standard, and I have glowable. Where is RAS? We have outline material, Interactor standard metallic outlines, and if you select that, it will get the same textures, and it will add the glow settings, but it is right now too high, so you need to make some adjustments on this one. On the outline settings, these are too much. And since we are using the same material on whole object, maybe we can make it a bit subtle. Okay, you need to make some adjustments on that, but it will just work out of the box. Actually, we can prevent that by creating another material. Let's do that. And let's assign this one onto over here. So it will only change this one. Let's select outline. Okay, that is better. And on the outline settings, okay, let's make it less visible and more subtle. Also make it, maybe we can get its own color. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, we assign our material. If you want to use another material other than the object, Interactor object, you can give the material for the outline material section in the other settings. So you can use another material over here. Hey, use this one, not our current material. Let's try. So when you select the object, it will just glow like that. So it will be better. Okay, and we have regular one-hand pickup over here. So it is same with the pickup animation. When we have pressed the E button, it will switch to rifle idle animation, like that. So when we pick up the object with right hand for weapon in the trailer, we got our picture over here, which works regular pickup without holding position. And when I switch the rifle animation, it will just works fine with the animation, because it is right now a child of the bone, hand bone. So that was the rifle part. And I think this is two hand pickups, two separate interaction objects. And we have a button animation over here. Let's also do that real quick. So I put a manual button interaction because I don't have my manual rotator interaction in presets, but you can create your own presets easily, and I can show it. Actually, it is on the prefabs and presets tutorial video, so let's skip it. Now, right now, I will use my left hand and interact with this button. Let's use the title. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so I want to rotate this hand with the object. So for that, I will make it the button's child. So when I rotate the button, it will also rotate the target. And on the interaction part, I want to use the manual instead of the manual button. I want to use a rotator. But the rotator interaction needs an interactive rotator class. So let's add that rotator, interactive rotator. Over here, you can play with these settings. I will just make it quick. So it needs to rotate on, let's see, Z-axis. So let's select Z, and it needs a rotation model, which is button 1, and it needs to how much it needs to rotate. It needs to know how much it will rotate. So I will make the max rotation from this current rotation to 2, which means 72-degree rotation. So you can make out of settings over here. You can make a step rotation, or you can make a smooth rotation, or you can make it rotate all the way 360. Anyways, I will activate once because I want to call the event only one time, not all the time while I'm rotating. And let's select our TV and change our mesh renderer material, shared material. And we need our TV material. I got two materials. One of them is turn off and the other is on state. So right now we have off, so we want to change this material to on state when interacted only once. So okay, I think it is done. So let's try. This is left hand. Okay, let's go to object, and now we can use the TV. So okay, we forgot one more thing, because manual button interaction doesn't have on pause, so but we need to on pause interaction. So we are setting pause on, so hand will still on object like this. So rotator also use the mouse input for rotating the object. As you can see, I can make tiny rotations, but it doesn't call the event until the maximum set rotation. So if I change all the way down, it will call the event and change the material. And I can control the hand with my mouse. So of course you can change the input in your game. So that is all. And I think I covered up all the things I need to say for now. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I am sorry for it takes too long, but I needed to explain a lot of things because we have lots of customization in these settings. Even I didn't talk about the custom curves. So if you need any questions, just send me a mail on or a forum post on Unity forums. And thank you for watching. See you on the next one.